Squat University. That's the game.
Hey everyone, Dr. Jason Pape coming at you live. Welcome. If you've never seen me before, I am Dr. Jason Pape, chiropractic extraordinaire, bringing you education, information, motivation, inspiration on the regular. If you have seen me before and come back for more, please drop a number 2 in the comments below. And if this is your first time, please drop a number 1. Let me know who you are, where you're watching from, whether you're watching on Facebook or you're watching on YouTube live, or you're watching any of our restreams on any of our other platforms. And feel free to follow us at any of those lovely things in the streaming line below. And so hi, all my viewers out there. So tonight we're going to talk about this. We're going to talk about pitfalls to avoid at the cardio section in the gym. So I find myself talking to patients a lot about some of these things, about how they, when it comes to treadmill, the elliptical. So I figured, let's give a little bit of a more chiro-based thing tonight and see how I can help everyone maybe not hurt themselves in the gym and give them a couple tips at home. So if you're ready, we'll strap on in. We'll get going. Now, I do have some slides here that were presented by my put together by my amazing producers, but I don't even know if I've read them yet. I'm going to tell you right now. I'm going to say I don't know what they say, but I'm sure they're amazing because they probably just did some good work. So a couple things we can go over first. Posture and core engagement, really important. All right, maintaining upright posture, engaging your core. So no matter what you're doing, again, especially if we're working out, doing exercise with weights, make sure we're keeping our back relatively straight. We're not sitting bent forward. Again, we don't want to be, sitting into your knees and heels is always good when you're doing standing stuff. We want to avoid slouching or hunching, especially to help not hurt your neck or low back, and engaging that core to help get that stability and enhance your workout results. And some people even told me that you can do that while you're running. So some engaging, especially that lower core while you're running, which is not easy to do. You got to do some work at it, because people have a tendency when they do hold their core not to breathe often. People think they hold their core and they hold their breath. No, you have to hold your core and breathe as you do that, which is the hardest part. But as you get better doing that, you can then maybe start to engage your core more when you're doing things like running. And again, holding that proper posture can help with better breathing and endurance. I'll go through another slide here while we're talking. And I went too fast. Again, a proper stride and foot placement is always good. You don't want to overstride in a treadmill. Taking extra long strides is not always optimal. You want to go with a natural stride while you're walking, jogging, or running, that what feels right for your body. And again, find a speed on that treadmill, if you're doing the treadmill, to meet you where you're at when it comes to your stride. If it's going so fast that you can't keep up with it, or vice versa, shift that thing, meet it where you're at. Because if you're on the ground outside running, you will be running at a pace that works for you, and you can speed up or slow down as you need to. The ground is moving as you're not moving under your feet, and you're trying to catch up or slow down. So those are some of the pitfalls of a treadmill, which we'll come back to a little bit more. Obviously about, how we come down on our foot and this heel into toe versus or midfoot, rather than slamming your foot down on your heel or your toe. And when you get the proper foot placement as you're running and or walking, it's different for different things. It definitely takes some stress on you. And we're going to talk about keeping the incline down, if not at all. As we go a little further, let's bang through my slides and we'll go into some other stuff. You know what? We'll take a break from there. So hopefully this is a little bit helpful so far. My producers are awesome. Thank you, Vincent. So a couple things. When it comes to a treadmill, there's a couple things we want to avoid. All right. So treadmill, like I said before, the good things about treadmill is you can run inside, right? You can control the environment. You control the incline, non-incline. You control the speed. Right, and you don't have to be outside in the cold, the winter. Now, running on the street in the roads can be rough. So when you run on a road, you have a hard macadam, which doesn't have really good give, right? And roads are cambered for water runoff. So when you run on the road, I don't want you getting hit by a car, so make sure you're very careful with what you're wearing and where you are on the street, what kind of road you're on. But running towards the crown of the road is always better than running on the sides of the road. Because if you're running on the sides of the road where water runoff is made to go, your feet will kind of do this. I'm doing a little gross exaggeration here, but you're definitely going to put different stress into your foot, your ankle, your knee, your hip, and your low back. So running on the sides of the road can be rough. That's why you want to run more towards the crown, or run on a sidewalk, or even the grass, or on a track. But when you're inside on a treadmill, you don't have to worry about that. So that's one of the benefits of the treadmill over the road. However, and also the road has a little bit less give than the treadmill does. Now, if you're on a good track or you're on the grass, even a little more give there. So those are some of the benefits of the treadmill. But one of the issues we mentioned just a minute ago is about the speed of the treadmill, right? When you set a treadmill at speed, you're matching the speed of the treadmill, not your own clip, if you will. And sometimes that can change your gait. It can change your own stride length, things like that. We said we want to keep a proper level. We don't over or under extend. So when you jog on the treadmill, it's kind of a set time. It's not optimal for what your body would need, right? Like my stride is different than Vincent's, it's different than anyone on my other, Jules, anyone like that, right? So when you're running on the street though, or a track or whatever, you control the pace, right? How fast or how slow you go is all dependent on what you decide to do. The treadmill, while you can change it, you have to kind of keep up with it, right? Which may not be as natural. It can sometimes lead to issues. But obviously, if we're on the treadmill, we don't have a choice, right? Here we are. Now, let's talk about running versus walking on the treadmill. We'll talk about incline. And we're going to talk about hand holding. So, and I don't mean like holding the hand of the person on the treadmill next to you. I mean holding your hands on the machine. So one thing we want to remember is when we walk or run, what our arms do, they move, right? We have a stride. When you're running, right, we're moving the arms. When you're even walking, the arms are moving, right? When you're on a treadmill, we want to maintain that. If you're not going to be doing that, and if you hold on to the treadmill, what might happen? Well, if you're holding on, especially if you're going too fast, first of all, it's going so fast that you need to hold on, you need to slow it down because you can't keep up. I want you to match what your body can handle. And if you're holding on, right, because you have to, otherwise you can go flying off, not good. All right. Number two, your arms have a normal swing, right? So what happens if you're holding on? Your arms aren't going to swing. And where do you think that stress goes? Well, if you have to hold on, that stress is going to go into your mid and upper back. And what's going to happen is that it's going to possibly misalign your spine and mess that up a little bit because you're holding on, and the stress instead of the arms moving is going to go right into your middle and upper and lower backs. No bueno. So it's one thing if you hold on for a couple of seconds here and there, but do not hold on the treadmill, especially if you're holding on one side. That'll really twist everything up. All right. Make sure, this is anywhere you're running, we keep proper arm movement. Arms should go back and forth, not across your body. Some people have a tendency to do this when they run, or they again, a nice march, arms in front of you, kind of like this, or a closed fist, but you go, cut that air, right? I don't want to see this. That's not how you run. And if that's how you run, you learn wrong. You got to change it. And if you don't move your arms at all when you walk, we have to talk about the fact that you probably missed a crawling step. We know someone like that over here in our office. So, and it's not our producers. So is this making sense? If you're picking up what I'm putting down, folks, please drop a number 3 in the comments below and make sure that you're understanding what I'm talking about. Now, I'm not a big fan of fast walking. All right. And the reason for this is about the gait. And this is especially true on a treadmill because, again, people, I just go for an easy walk, 3.5. I'm like, that's not an easy walk. That's a pace. And you've got to try to keep up. So when you run, right, when people run, their legs have to bend your knee and lift it and raise it out in front of you. Let me see if I can lower this a little bit and show you guys what I'm talking about. So when you run, right, the leg will come up and out, right? When you walk fast, that's not happening. So what's happening is in order to clear the ground, so your foot doesn't hit it, we have a tendency to lift our foot up by keeping our knees straight. So as we dorsiflex our foot, as it's called, the muscles in the front of our leg start to fire more than they should, and we can start getting things like shin splints or pain in the front of the shin. All right? Because you're trying to move quickly to keep your foot from hitting the ground so you can move it quicker at that pace. And if you're not bending your knees much because you're not reaching out and running and jogging, that can cause more problems there. All right? So hopefully that's making sense. Whoa, I'm a little higher than I expected. Now, even worse is if you put an incline, right? So if I'm running on a flat surface and I'm trying to lift my leg up to not, hit the ground and pull this foot up, that's one thing. But then if I put an incline, it makes it even harder to get the foot to not hit that ground. And what I find is also people will tend to, it's going to look a little, let me see if I can push this back a little bit. I don't normally do running videos where I show you my legs, but I'm going to do this. So I'm going to bring this down a little bit. I'm going to step back. And if you can see, so when you run, this happens, right? We said the leg comes out. This is not really working too well. So I'm going to have to show my feet here. I'm going to show the feet. Okay. So when you run, this happens, right? But when you walk fast, this happens. we kind of have a tendency to do this. We don't really bend our knee much and we pull our foot up. That can make these muscles sting. And when you put the incline, it makes it even harder to do that. More problems in the shin and maybe shin splints. Now, because you can't clear the ground as well, your body moves your leg out like this somewhat, and your hips get engaged a little bit more, and you start putting extra stress into your hips. So fast walking on a treadmill, especially in an incline, all right, can force you to change your gait enough to injure your ankle, leg, shin, or even your hip, and then your low back. Does that make sense? This is why I'm not the biggest fan of a very fast walk on a treadmill. I'd rather you could jog. Now, again, there's an impact issue, right? The faster you're going and the more you're reaching out that leg, the more the impact can be, and that can be harmful for people over the long run. But in general, if done properly, it should not be damaging like that, especially if you're on a springier surface like a treadmill or even a rubberized track. All right, does that make sense? Y'all picking this up when I'm putting down? Put number 4 in the comments below. Whether you're watching live replay or whatever it is, please do so. And we always get back to you if you have questions. So those are some of my issues with the treadmill. So we don't want to hang on. All right. We prefer not doing it on an incline, or if we do, definitely don't do an incline that's on there for a long period of time. No one runs uphill forever. So I find some people will run or jog or walk uphill the entire time. Oh, it's harder. Yeah, no kidding. But your body needs a break. This whole consistency like this is just going to cause more issues. Right? If you're running up a treadmill on a treadmill, and you're running up, even jogging, you're going to hit a lot more of that forefoot and put a lot more stress into the anterior compartment of your leg into your knee. All right. So things we don't want us to do. We want a variety. We are meant to build with the surfaces we're on. Most people are not running straight up an angle up a hill all day long. Right? It does not really exist like that in nature. So those are some issues we want to try to avoid, okay, with our running or walking or jogging on a treadmill. Number 1. Now let's move to the old elliptical. This one's not as hard to describe, but the problem with an elliptical is that elliptical is made for someone, not everyone. And what I mean by that is if you're getting the elliptical where your feet are moving, your hands are moving, right? There's a pivot point. Your legs are going, your knees are going, and it's almost like an X, right? Where that is. But it's built for like an average height or wherever they thought they advertised when they make it. It's not really built for me or Vincent or anyone else, different heights. So sometimes, you can manipulate it a little bit. You may not be getting the right cross crawl pattern for you based on the machine because it's not really built for you. It's built for everyone. It's built kind of for everyone, but it's more built for someone, meaning it's built for a certain height, not for everyone that can jump on it. It's not as universal as it looks. So sometimes that can actually put extra stress into the back. Maybe it'll hit you a little higher. Maybe it'll hit you a little lower. That twist may be a little more than you need. And then sometimes people are like, they're chugging on there. That's a little too much sometimes too, depending on how you're doing it. So make sure you find a treadmill, elliptical rather, or something that kind of fits your body a little bit more. And they don't always fit your body like it fits someone else's body. So it may not be the most opportune thing for you. Now, the nice thing about it versus the treadmill is it's kind of like running where the ground moves with you instead of you hitting the ground. So it definitely takes some of the impact out, but definitely can put other stress in your body based on biomechanics that maybe are not built for you optimally. Okay. So that's the big thing about the treadmill the elliptical that I'm have my issue with it. I want people to just be mindful of. All right. And some of them are made without the little things. I mean, nowadays they almost all have the hand things, but back in the day, that was they didn't even have that. So people had a problem where they would have to find different ways to grip or hold on so they didn't fall off. And that, again, if you can't move your arms, you're going to be doing that twist in here, which we don't want. Like we talked about holding on the treadmill. So Vincent asked about a Stairmaster. So Stairmasters, again, first of all, no one's climbing up the stairs all day long unless you're walking up the Freedom Tower, right? That can be rough. Now, again, I like a real Stairmaster with like actual steps that you walk up, some of those versus the old-timey Stairmasters where you're almost like you're climbing a ladder. For the same reason, a lot of people are holding on, they're leaning forward, they're not moving their body. And again, you can give yourself more shin splints because of the position your foot has to be in. So maybe work your way up to it, maybe do a little bit of that, then go do some flat work on a treadmill or elliptical, and then come back. I just don't like people on that thing for like 45 minutes to an hour. It's just a lot because there's no going down the stairs. There's only going up the stairs. And it hits different muscle groups. When you go up steps using your quadricep muscles, right? You're using your dorsiflex and then your plantar flex of your foot. So your foot comes up like this to hit the room, and then when you step up and push off, it's your calf and your quad. But who's working the hamstring? That's a down the steps kind of maneuver, right? Hamstring gets hit a little bit more there. So you can, if over time, just hitting different muscle groups inappropriately because you're hitting some more than others than you should. Running is going to hit everything. So on a run and incline, it definitely changes that. But Stairmaster is a little bit more, excuse me, are definitely a little bit more preferential to certain muscles over others, and you can create imbalances. If like, oh, I just do the Stairmaster every day, it may not be optimal. All right, we want balance in all those muscles. And like I mentioned earlier about maintaining that core as best you can in any of these things is tough. You just got to work on it. Never start with just, hey, I don't really ever hold my core. I'm going to try to hold my core as I run today. And now I'm going to try to breathe. And I'm not used to breathing with holding my core. So you should do work. Your core work is something you should do early on a ball or on a mat. Get really good at controlling that pelvis. And then learning how to engage that with low activity and then work into your more higher level activities as you go on. Now, the other thing we didn't talk about yet is like a Peloton or a spin bike. So spin bikes are a little rough because the seat's never great. And even when you get the special gel pads, sometimes it can be really irritating, especially to men more than women, about where it hits them. All right, so that might be something too to make sure you get a really good spin bike seat. But a lot of times when you're up in the stirrups going up the hill, even on the Peloton, we have a tendency to get up and push down. Like, so make sure your resistance is not so much that you're so pushing your legs where you have to like go out to come in. Like, you know, you're coming from side to side like you're on a bike. The bike, real bike moves side to side. You know, Peloton, unless I'm wrong, or a spin bike, they don't go side to side, right? So when you're going up the hill, the bike will kind of move with you versus a stationary bike that does not. So when you get up in those stirrups and you're pushing from side to side, there's that little bit of a little motion that you don't get on that bike, which can put a little extra stress in the hips or in the inside, different parts of the knees based on the stress of it, right? So again, if we're going up the hill and pushing, that's not a normal thing. The knee likes to flex. It's a hinge joint. It does not like to rotate, all right? It can do all those things, but it's not optimal for it. So for your leg to be bent and externally rotated, internally rotated your hips, while you do that, push different stress in the knee in different places than you need. So if your knee's out more, it's going to put more stress medially. If you're in more, can put more stress laterally, or compressing those areas. So be mindful. That's why I don't like people doing like the feet like this or feet like this. And when they're doing like a leg press or a squat, just kind of go where your feet normally are, which is a slight external rotation, right? Otherwise, you're going too far. You're putting too much stress in different parts of the knee and can cause more damage. Yes, you might get some different tie-in muscles, right? But at the end of the day, you might cause more damage to the joint that's not meant to do that, right? Just because a knee is supposed to do this, right? It can do these different things, but that's not what it's built for. So that's how you can more easily damage things like menisci over time, front, anterior compartment, posterior compartment of the knee more, just because of where you put the stress on it. So if always you're going up stairs, you can put different stress versus when you go downstairs, right? When you go upstairs, there's definitely different pressures in the knee than versus down in both. Squatting definitely did some different things too, but you're going through a nice range of motion there. So just be mindful of those things too. Is when you're on the bike, be mindful of how you're going out from side to side just to get up that hill or push against that resistance. And the other thing too is when you're on those handlebars. So if you're up forward on those handlebars on a regular stationary bike, that can definitely put some stress in the wrist, elbow, shoulder, depending on how you are. Spin bikes, people are more up on top like this. And again, that motion back and forth. While people who are doing like sometimes at the Peloton or you're like a racer, you're leaning onto those elbows. That definitely can put stress in the shoulders. Just make sure what your body can tolerate. All right. So that's why it's not always good to always be doing a climb. Go back and forth. Have some variety. Right? Your body does better with some mixing it up than just one thing over and over. And you might feel like, well, I get a better workout when I'm more on the hills. All right. But your body is getting beat up in certain positions over a long period of time. Just because you can do it. And those guys who are pinned on their bike for hours every day, like, I get you. That's how you ride. But that causes problems. If I just asked you to walk around with your arm like this for half the day, what might happen to your wrist, elbow? It might hurt. But you're on a bike, pumping up, run the whole time. If that's the position you're in. I mean, it's not always the easiest position. I'm not saying you can't be a biker or elliptical person or a treadmill. I'm saying these are the pitfalls you want to avoid. So I always like people to have variety. Now, if you're taking your bike and driving, and you're out here on Long Island, you're taking it from Hot Block, Montauk, and back, yeah, you might be stuck in some position. But sometimes you're not in a race. Sit up a little bit, get your hands up, maybe hold up here, maybe take the hands off the wheel if you're savvy enough to do that. Take a break, right? Don't always be stuck in that one position all the time unless you're really in a race or something like that. So hopefully so far this has been helpful. If it has been, please drop a number 5 in the comments below. And if you think this might help other people you know, put it on your page, put it in a message, in a private message, in a group, in a post, whatever. Share the link. Let people see it. Take this YouTube thing and put it on your Facebook page. Even better, right? That's how you say thank you to me, is by sharing. Sharing is caring. So let's go through a couple more of these slides that my producers so beautifully put together for me. And again, elliptical handlebars, armband, we just kind of talk about that, about how to engage your arms naturally when you're using these things, and push-pull when you're moving the arms. Smooth controlled motions obviously are important, adjusting your stride length to meet your resistance. That's why I talk about liking more control over those things, right? Good posture, keeping the hands light on these things for balance and full support, right? You don't want to be leaning into these things, right? Again, proper form is going to ensure safety, reduce strain, improve efficacy and efficiency. You're gauging your core, definitely help the stance and the land softer too. We'll talk about landing of the foot in a minute. And obviously respect your gym and the equipment and the policies there for optimal workouts. Wipe your machines down when you're done, things like that. Don't go so high, so fast that you go flying off a treadmill. Don't do crazy things in the treadmill. Let's just keep it smart and safe. If you have questions, please drop them in the comments below. Someone think to a chiropractor in Long Island, and his name is okay. Well, thank you, and I will keep an eye out for him. Tell my staff to keep an eye out for him. So here's our contact information if you're interested in sending us any information, questions. Vitality Center 631-864-2784. info@vitalitycenterli.com. Let me put up that scroll if I can do this right. Which one? No, that one? Oh, there it is. There's our caption. I thought scroll. And also let me put hold on. Let me put a QR card. You can follow us on our link tree right here if you think anything else will be cool to follow us then. And then let me see. Let's change the ticker up a little bit. Put our contact information on the ticker as well. So I hope this has been helpful. One last thing I want to talk about is that you don't want to be a flat-footed runner, all right? We talk sometimes about mid-stance. When you walk, the proper posture of your foot is hitting the inside of your heel, all right? Then it comes across your heel, comes around the outside of the foot, along the 5th metatarsal, and then across the metatarsal heads, and then you push off with a big toe. So that's proper heel strike and toe off when you're walking. It's just kind of like this. All right, if you go too much one way or the other, you can be over supinating or pronating. All right, we want to keep you more neutral. That's why orthotics are great. So we work with some really amazing products that if you ever come into our office, we can help get a specific mold of your foot through a really cool 3D technology we use, like a topographical map of your foot, and we use that to get custom orthotics made for you. Now, they're not hard pieces of plastic like most podiatric orthotics are, where they're kind of like a 3/4, 7/8 long. They're these hard, rigid pieces of plastic with a little bit of foam on top or rubber. Your foot has a natural movement to it. There should be some movement. There's a soft and bony arch. The bony arch should be relatively supportive, but your soft arch should have some flexibility. You just want to go too far one way or the other. So we have firm but not rigid orthotics. And they have really good shock absorption built into them to take that pressure off. And by keeping the proper motion, you're not too much pronating or supinating, we'll take stress out of the ankle, the knee, the hip, the low back, and we're above. So a good orthotics is really helpful for any kind of running or even elliptical or Stairmaster. So if you need that and you're local to us here in Hauppauge, definitely come on see us. Some insurance covers it. NiShift covers up to 2 pair a year, which is pretty nice. Some other systems might. And we actually are even if you don't, our cash prices are very affordable compared to traditional podiatric orthotics, probably like half, depending on where you go, maybe even less, more than half. So definitely let us know if you're interested in orthotics. Drop a little foot emoji in the comments below. But again, when you run or even jog, it should kind of a more heel or mid stance hit, and then you come on and off. Toe, a lot of times you're sprinting, you are up on your toes. But there's some debate about that. But if you look at if you want to know sprinters, look at a pair of spikes. All right. If you ever run on a track and use spikes, where are all the spikes? We're all across the toes, all the metatarsal heads. They're not really in your heel, right? Because it's about pushing off those toes when you run. So you're a lot more forward. All right. But again, doing nothing but fast running, you'll hit that foot differently than maybe just a jog or a walk where you're a little more heel toe. And again, we don't want to be comping down. We don't want our legs turned out. We want to be kind of arms crossing the body. And if you find yourself running what you believe might not be the best position, find someone to work with you to coach you up on how to run better, or so you can learn better proper mechanics. There's many reasons why that can have happened. Injuries, missing certain primitive reflex works, or maybe not getting proper postural reflexes, things like that. That all can be worked on. Just take some time. All right. And we can do that here for you in the Vitality Center as well. I've taken plenty of persons to the track over the years and taught them how to run properly. So anyway, that's our video for today. So if you have any questions, feel free to drop a comment below, or let me ask, or ask us with us. Let me ask. What you can ask us a question while we're on here now, or you can do one later. Either way, feel free to message us if you have any questions at the Vitality Center, info at thevitalitycenterli.com. Call us, make an appointment, come on in, send us a message on our, right here. We'll even get back to you later on, whether it's here, YouTube, or any of our other replay streams on Twitter or TikTok or Instagram. So I hope this video has found you well. I hope you found this video helpful. And I hope this will make you all healthier in the gym, and you'll combat those pitfalls that you may run into in the cardio section of the gym or doing cardio in general. So thank you all. I appreciate all of you for coming on here, whether you're watching live or in replay, and we'll look at